set up the stage for the coming panel discussion. Thank you. So we will now proceed to the high-level opening panel discussion. In this section, we will discuss challenges and opportunities in the future of big data applications. As the digital economy evolves, big data applications become increasingly crucial. Despite the emergence of new technologies like quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and blockchain, the domain name system DNS remains highly relevant. So there are significant opportunities for innovation and growth in this field by staying up to date and leveraging new trends and technologies to drive the digital economy forward. We welcome questions from the audience and encourage interaction for this section. As anytime, if you have a question, you don't have to wait until the Q&A segments to ask the questions. Whether you are on-site or participating virtually, feel free to sign into Zoom and type your questions into the Q&A pod. When you registered to attend the forum, you'd have received the Zoom link for the section on email. So just retrieve the link from there. Thank you. So before inviting our panelists on stage, I would like to introduce our panel moderator as well as our panelists to you. First of all, let me introduce you, our panel moderator. It's our great pleasure to have Engineer Alan Young, JP. Engineer Alan has extensive experience in the areas of smart city, big data, information technology, cybersecurity, investments, corporate and business development, science park development, and government affairs. Engineer Alan is a leader in Hong Kong's information technology and communication industry. He has contributed a lot in promoting and developing the innovation and technology industry in Hong Kong and the region. He has established Hong Kong Business Angel Network, Greater Bay Area International Information Technology Association, and Institutes of Big Data Governance. So in the coming section, we are going to invite our panel moderator on stage first. We are pleased to invite Engineer Alan Young, JP, to join us on stage now. Welcome, Engineer Alan Young. And then may I invite our panelists. We have Mr. Samuel Ho, CEO of Nova Credits Limited. He has extensive experience in leading credit bureau, consumer banking, and in-depth understanding with consumer credit life cycle. Let's welcome Samuel. Ms. Selina Lau, Chief Executive of Hong Kong Federation of Insurers, which represents 135 insurance companies in Hong Kong and is promoting the use of technology in the industry through spearheading a number of industry-wide InsurTech initiatives and its 2 InsurTech task forces. Welcome, Selina. Next, may I invite Mr. Henry Ma, Executive Vice President, Chief Information Officer of WeBank, and he oversees the strategic planning and development of fintech business at WeBank. Prior to WeBank, Henry has served as General Manager at Ping An Technology Co. Limited. Prior to that, Henry had lived and worked in Silicon Valley for more than 10 years. Welcome, Henry. Last but not least, may I invite Mr. Horace Tan, Head of Data of UMP Healthcare Innov Center. The center aims to support the development of advanced medical application technology and for medical experts to exchange scientific research knowledge and experience. Welcome, Horace. I will now hand the floor to the moderator for the section. Engineer Young, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. So I would be very delighted to chair this session. We talk about how data can help drive the digital economy. Before we start the panel, I would like to give a few slides just to set the stage. The slide might be a little bit small to see, but anyway, I think we have entered into a very exciting world where data is now the new oil. And we have seen the development of data economy for a number of years already. And because of such importance, we have established a NGO, the Institute of Big Data Governance, where the Institute helps to build the best practices and also certification for data industry to flourish. So the two major works of the Institute, one is to establish the best practices, and two is to set up a scheme where company can be certified when they reach certain standards. At the meeting of G20 last year, there is a digital economy working group, and they have come up with a number of discussions and conclusions during the working group. I'd like to share some of the observations from that working group to set the stage for our panel discussion. First of all, they talk about data has been surged in astonishing rates, even during the pandemic years. And that's not the end. That's only the beginning of such phenomena. And second, if we can harness the data well, it can actually promote a lot of our economic development, also build a better society for human beings. And among US, China, and EU, the world's three largest economies, they actually dominate a lot of the digital economy. Nonetheless, they are divergent in terms of the way they see how data are being governed. And so there is a big call for everyone to jointly work together towards a standardized, a unified, and also a consented way of data governance globally. And that's why we are here today. And I will be very pleased to have 4 panel speakers joining me at the panel who have, each of them represent an industry that owns a lot of data that concerns every one of you. So we have Samuel Ho. He is with a credit rating for people. We have Selena Lau, and she is looking at the industry of insurance. And we have Henry Ma, he is with a bank, and not just a regular bank, but digital bank. And finally, we have Horace, and he is with healthcare. So all of them represent a lot of information that interlink with everyone's daily lives. So let me begin with the speakers with my first question, because each of them represent a very key industry. So my first question to each of them would be to think through the next few years, how data is going to shape their industry. May I begin with Samuel?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alan. So I'm not the tech savvy, right? So I'm doing the data business. So I would like to share with all of you some of my experience in the past. And as said, this is not a crystal ball. Just my experience, what I expected in the next few years, for example. I think you may all know in the past few years, Hong Kong has a, intensive integration in GBA, as well as the mainland China. And you can see China as well, right, has been actively engaging in OBOR. Maybe some of the countries you may know, right? Especially in the trade and economics development. But despite those breakthroughs in so many areas, you can see one distinct area seems to be highly lagging behind. It's about data connectivity between those, all the countries. I would say, for example, for investment, investment is one thing. You can see in the past, the China government, you may see a lot of national enterprise to invest into other countries. But in the last 2 years, you can see there's an increasing trend for the medium-sized private company to invest in, especially in Middle East, in ASEAN countries. To be honest, they have a business risk. So how to mitigate the business risk? You have to do a lot of field works, especially business intelligence information from company side or from the countries. So I think in the next few years, especially for the investor from China, right? They need a lot of data, in particularly for the due diligence, and even though for the financing as well. That's why in the coming maybe 3 or 5 years, that is a good timing for the countries, especially for ASEAN and let's say for the all OBOR countries. They have take this time to align or to coordinate together to make some of standardization of data connectivities, especially on the compliance and control. That will be benefit to all of us. I will say there will be a trend because I learned from some of the ASEAN countries. They also started to discuss about that, and that is my view.
Thank you, Samuel. Selena?
Thanks, Alan. Samuel said that he's not tech savvy, so I'm an outsider for the technology. But fortunately, I'm working for the Federation of Insurers, which is really trying to drive technology development to help our business. From my perspective as representing all the insurance companies, one of the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, described us as the original big data industry. Imagine how many data we are in process with. We got health data, we've got finance data, we've got tons of data, even lifestyle. We know where you travel, when you travel. So this kind of data are helping us to do a lot of analytics. In the old days, we are actually managing data to price our products, to develop our products, to design our products, and to process claims. So this is how we work. But in the old days, we only rely on the reinsurers' data. Very, very limited and very, very silo. But now we have new tools, new device. We've got telematics, we've got IoT, we've got wearables. We know more about our clients. We also have new source of data. We've got social media, we've got your online payment information as well. And we got new insights. We know how people work, their lifestyle, when they work out and all this. So all this information come down will be very, very helpful for us. To do through data analytics, we know more about our clients. We know more about their intention or what they want to achieve in their life. We can do a lot more. And like what Samuel said, it's about cross-border data as well. The central government has designated Hong Kong to be the risk management center for the nation. So we have a very big role to play in terms of risk management, not only for the nation, also for the region as well. And data come to play a very important role. So we're looking forward to having more cross-border data to help us to do better analytics and risk management. The MOU signed between the ITIB and the CAC is very helpful. It's a very, very positive way forward. And we look forward to having more details of the framework. Professor Sun was telling us to have more innovative ideas about how we can use this data and leverage this data. So I think data, not only in Hong Kong, will help us shape the future. Now I want to talk about one thing that is coming to our life very often, is our green and ESG, right? So for green and ESG, we are particularly in need of tons of data, climate change, geographic data. So with the with more collaboration and with cross-border interconnectivity, we will be able to get a better view on how to price risk through data. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Henry.
Thank you, Alan. First of all, I'm very much honored to attend the meeting today on behalf of WeBank. And I'm a tech guy, so talking about tech, right? And if you talk about the importance of data, I think in recent years, it's a very hot topic. I don't think there's any argument about like how important data is. But as a matter of fact, it's not really how you can make use of data, how you can generate values out of data. It's really the supply of data that's really making a challenge for every industries. And in fact, for financial industries in particular. So it's not really well, as a digital bank, right, we operate online, we are a big consumer of data. But as a matter of fact, the supply of data is really constrained, is a big constraint for the further development of the industry as well. So in terms of like solving the supply side problems, I think there are two very important perspectives that we have to look at. First of all, digital transformation of the various industries. I mean, we talk about digital transformation a lot, but if you look at traditional businesses, how digital are they, right? I mean, we still have very limited access to data, as a matter of fact. And at the same time, we see regulations also tightening all across the world. Like in China, in 2021, we have the Personal Information Protection Law, right? It's actually creating more and more hurdles in terms of data collaboration. So how do we actually solve the topic to collaborate around data is another very important issue that we have to address. So that's why like the other trend, and then I think, well, first of all, the continual digital transformation of the various industry is very important. But at the same time, how do we address the issue around data collaboration using latest technology around like federated learning, around privacy preserving computing? I think these are the very important trends that we have to look into. So. Okay, thank you. Horace.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. So this is Horace. I'm from the healthcare and also the supervising the data team. So I can talk more about the big data application in the healthcare, what we can foresee in the upcoming few years. And actually, first of all, we can see the rapid developments of the IoT devices and also the edge computing technology. So more and more data will come, just like the Selena mentioned. So the customer will actively monitor their health status and further contribute their health data, such as lifestyle or body measurements, etc. So I think the second is more and more application to facilitate some AI diagnostics or some early detection techniques, which is going to improve the operational efficiency of the healthcare group, and also to give the second opinion to the doctors in the digital forms. And third is the preventive medicine, which is more on the preventive, personalized prevention and treatment. Based on the individual's genetic makeup and also the other factors to design a more targeted treatment plan to based on the individual needs. And the fourth, we can leverage the large language models and generative AI to maybe develop the new drugs and also to simulate the clinical trials and also create the synthetic data for the research purposes. And the large language model can be also adopted to improve the existing patient engagement for the chatbots and etc. So that's we can see the high potential for the big data applications from the healthcare perspective.
Thank you, Horace. As you can all see, data are actually beginning to shape the new industry application-wise. So Horace just talked about healthcare. From what we are being treated when you have certain disease to preventive medicine. So you are not being treated when you have some problem, and back to the banks and to the insurance and to the credit industry, you will get more personalized services rather than you get one size fits all type of services in the future. Of course, there are some constraints that lack of standardization, some of the industry, some of the data are still being locked up and so forth, that are waiting for further development from the industry. And that's why we talk about we need better governance, we need better structure, we need better unified across the board in terms of government working together. So if we want to take a little bit to the day-to-day understanding, because we talk about big data, we talk about how they can help in the big picture. If I like to cite one example, which is closer to everyday's livelihoods of everyone in the room. Maybe each of you can cite one example how data is being used, and that would be helpful for everyone. Maybe we can back again and start with Samuel.
Okay, let me start. I may not share with you because I am doing the credit bureau business in Hong Kong. So I think everyone know I have all the populations of Hong Kong people about their lending behavior. But today I will not share about that. I share with you one of my experience in the last year. My company signed a business information sharing contract with Uzbekistan. Very cool countries, right? You may never visit this country before, right? And another contract we signed with Philippines about business information and personal credit information sharing. So I can say before that, right? We talked to some of businessmen in Hong Kong. As you know how many people they are going to invest into Uzbekistan? How many? Only 2 cases in the last year. We talked to them, why you eventually give up? The give up ratio is very high. It's 95% of Hong Kong businessmen eventually give up to invest into Uzbekistan. Because they told me, they don't have any reliable business information about, the countries, about the company they want to invest, at any credit risk, and all kinds. Even though very basic informations for the due diligence they don't have. So that's why, right? When you facilitate the trade or investment growing, I think both countries, they have to work together to make it happen. That is the key. Even for Philippines, I think you're all very familiar of Philippines scenario, but I give you the number. 65% of Hong Kong businessmen eventually give up their investment in Philippines as well. So it is very, very high. So if you have a better information sharing, so I think you have better business decision and eventually benefit to both countries. That's my sharing with all of you.
That's very important. Having risk is not a problem, but not knowing what the risk is the big problem.
Yeah, indeed.
Selena?
Talking about risk, I will go back to my own industry, insurance. So our business is to handle claims, to settle claims, the rightful claims. But do you know that the fraudsters, there are so many insurance fraud happening in around the world. Do you know what is the rate? If I tell you, every $100 we pay out, our industry pay out, $10 to $15 go to the fraudsters. Imagine that. So that doesn't mean that the insurance industry is suffering a fraud problem. It's all of us who are paying an insurance premium into a pool because we're all sharing that risk. So that's why we, at the Federation, we set up an insurance fraud prevention claims database 5 years ago to detect fraud through data analytics. So what we do is that we collect all the insurance companies together. Whenever there are insurance claims, we transfer that data into a centralized database. And then also with the policy data, and then the AI, the machine learning will help us to detect fraud, possible fraud. It's not defined as fraud, it's suspicions alert. So when we see the score, the machine come up with, the claims handler, who are very experienced, will decide whether we should put further effort into investigating such fraud. So, well, all insurers, big and small, have this kind of different level of fraud detection mechanism within their organization. But coming together, working together, makes it more powerful. Because fraudsters nowadays are very sophisticated, we can think of one way to plug such a loophole, then they come up with the second one. So that's why collating all the data together and doing analytics through machine learning is very important for us. And now we have launched 2 lines of business, multi-line of business and health lines of business, which relate to a lot of people. Because of the governance and because of the regulation restrictions, we're still in the learning mode. Because in Hong Kong, we are not allowed to use historical data. We can only accumulate data for future analytics use. So now we're still in the learning mode. Hopefully, by collating all the data together, building this community, we'll be able to detect fraud and better protect the rightful interests of all policyholders. So this is the example I'm going to quote, Alan.
Can I follow up with
please.
another question? Would the use of big data enhance the speed of payment?
Absolutely. Because I think it is the fair treatment of our customers, right? Because we're a highly regulated industry, we have to make sure that the process is streamlined and helpful. So if we, through this data analytics, we can rule out the possibility of fraud, we can process it quicker. And I think the powerful is not only through this system, also through the automated system within the insurers. We're doing the claims processing much quicker than before. So maybe within days, within hours, you will be able to get payouts. So these are all credit to the use of data and automation.
That's good news indeed.
Yeah.
How about Henry?
Well, as a digital bank, our day-to-day operation is all about data. It's all about data. So as of today, we are already serving more than 360 million customers in China, more than 1.4 million MSME, micro SMEs in China, all without a branch, without a physical branch. So it's all about data. And we processed about, in last year, 844 million transactions in a single day. Right? So this is the kind of scale that we're looking at, the kind of data that we have to process. So lots of real-life examples about how we use data. Right? For example, when we establish credit facilities for MSME, we don't really ask for collateral. We look at how much taxes they pay, what's on their account receivables, what's on their account payables, their inventory, the energy consumption data, all that. And it's based on all these data, we offer them a line of credit. I mean, that's all we do, right? And if you talk about like how we acquire customers, I mean, we have to do online ads, right? We have to understand the behavioral pattern of our business owners. So when we post the ad to a user, we know that, hey, at least he's a potential business owner. Otherwise, if you post it to like a housewife, it would be a total waste of your advertisement dollar, right? So these are how we use data. And in fact, down the road, I think we see a lot of potential around large language model as well, right? Adding to that, like if you can do further analysis on those non-structured data around company annual reports, like any citations from any authorities, and even like on the news, whether there's some negative press about certain customers that we serve, we have better understanding of the day-to-day operational situation of the companies, and we understand the credit behavior more. So this is how we leverage data as a core competency of our own business.
Can I follow up a question with you? How do you compare the way you model the new way of using data versus with the collateral? in terms of bad debt rate?
The NPL rate for us, as published in our annual report last year, is only 1.4%. Right. I mean, if you're in the financial business, if you're in banking, you know that like probably the industry average is around 2%. But that's talking about secure loan plus unsecured loan, and we all we do is unsecured lending, right? So you can tell, like based on the kind of the data techniques and the data modeling kind of mechanism that we do underwriting, we actually achieve even better performance than traditional
amazing.
banking.
So you definitely changed the way new banking is being done. Okay,
I would think
back
so.
to Horace. Can you give us one close to the heart example of using of data?
Yeah, sure. So one of the use cases in the healthcare should be the patient's 360, like the customer's 360 in the banking. So it's more like to gather and consolidate all the data source from different kinds of system and also the IoT devices, so that to provide real-time monitoring to predict the health status and also to increase the efficiency of the diagnosis. So it would be I think one of the case to contribute to public health and also and also in the future use case or future developments of this platform can be empowered by the AI and other big data technologies like the large language model to enhance the existing language model, machine learning model, etc.
Great. I think that's also changing the way we are being treated in the future. A better health for everyone. So let me perhaps ask individually a separate, different question. For Samuel, I know you have obtained the cross-border data from the agencies from the mainland to allow data from mainland to share with Hong Kong. So the big congratulations. I think you are one of the few who have passed all the regulatory approvals. So how important is this to your business in terms of having such cross-boundary data flow from mainland China to Hong Kong?
Let me share with some of number to you. I think last year it is not last year, average per year there's about more than 1 million mainlander open a bank account in Hong Kong, including some of lending, investment, and all kinds. That is only for banking, not even in investment, insurance and security business. So when you because of population in Hong Kong is 7 million, the market is small, right? The bank industry is highly considering to open up, especially the business in GBA. So you can imagine, right? You have to get the data to do the KYC and the credit assessment. So that is a key. That's why we obtained the permission from the China government, to transfer the some of key and very important data for the banks to do the KYC and the credit assessment. And it allows the banks, especially, mitigate the risk. Very simple. For example, you give a credit card, you create a SME loans, even you offer some of a wealth management products. You have to do some, KYC due diligence as well. So in the past, the banks, even I worked for the banks for a long time, and they do a lot of manual works, check the mainland data from website. But the common names in China is very big. If your name is very simple, right? You have see a thousand of similar names in your website, so meaningless. So now we got the official data from the government and some of authorities and help the banks to do these works. And I would say they would save a lot of time. My experience with one bank, they said they save time from 4 days due diligence to only 30 minutes. That is the one. And then the second one is our data source is from golden source. It's a legitimate source, not from web scraping informations. Very reliable and very trustful. You can, to be honest, you can put in the file, and even Hong Kong MA go to your office to check. You have to prove. So that is a key. I see that because the trend is going up, especially the money lenders in Hong Kong, they want to have the banking business. I will see maybe next year there will be a triple and even 400% increasing of number of people to open account in Hong Kong. So that is why we do this kind of business.
That's great. I think that Hong Kong's business people are doing international business, and half of them are dealing with mainland companies. And with this credit source of information, golden source of information, that's definitely a big help in minimizing such business risk, as you mentioned earlier, about why not trading with other countries who have little credit informations. Selena, you are dealing with a very highly regulated industry. Insurance is one of them, banking is another. And so the industry, in fact, has been trying very hard to regulate your own self. And so that is on top of law and regulations. So there is some sort of self-regulated action going on. And so how do you see this is important to your industry in terms of having a self-regulated action within insurance?
You're quite right, Alan. In fact, we are one of the, we are very adapted to self-regulation. In the past, the Hong Kong Federation of Insurers regulated over 120,000 insurance agents in Hong Kong. So we were the regulator for over 30 years. So we're very familiar. And we also launched a number of initiatives to protect our customers. So it's all initiated within the industry. Quoting one of the examples, cooling off initiative. So when you buy an insurance policy, a life insurance policies, you got 21 days to think about it. If you want to cancel it, you can cancel and got your full refund. This is kind of self-regulatory initiative initiated by our industry. So when we talk about big data, I think it will be even more relevant and important because, like Alan said, we're one of the most regulated industries in Hong Kong or in the world. Insurance is always very heavily regulated. But it may be stopping the people, our industry, to try something new, especially when it has to go through the legal and compliance offices. Nowadays, we always joke about it. Even the CEO said yes to your idea. If the chief risk officer or the legal person said no, it will be a no-go. So if we have kind of like a framework which allows more innovation and disruption, it will help a lot. It can be through a lot of different ways. It can be a best practice, it can be a MOU to be signed with a regulator, or it can be done through a third party like the Institute of Big Data Governance. It's like a independent body looking into the practices and help us to build something for our industry. But I think being an industry which is working within a very restrictive framework, we always look for ways to do more innovation, and hopefully we can do it through different platforms.
Thank you. How about Henry? You just mentioned earlier that supply of data is actually quite challenging. How would you envision more data will be coming available? And that is not just for your own industry, I mean for every industry and also other sectors that would make good use of data.
Yeah, exactly. Getting access to data, more data is definitely a very important goal that we need to achieve. And at the same time, I also mentioned about the fact that we see very tightening regulations Right? In China, we have the Personal Information Protection Law in 2021. And so how do you actually stay compliant and at the same time being able to get access to more data? It's something that we have always keep in mind and also put a lot of investment around the kind of technology that we research. And in fact, in I think it's around 2021 as well, we proposed what we call the DDTP. It's really a public protocol about distributed data transfer. And we actually leveraged the blockchain technology that we have developed to build a solution around DDTP. Because under PIAPL, the privacy protection law, every user still can carry their own data. So if the user can actually download the data and we have a way to validate the data that they transmit, then it's really a good way to do data transport. And the kind of solution that we built is already production in China. We, as of the end of last year, we already served more than 3 million requests. And nowadays, we are talking about having 200,000 requests on a daily basis doing this kind of transport by the data owner themselves. Right? And we actually launched this particular solution across border as well for GBA. Because if you talk about the Greater Bay Area, we have a lot of demands around citizens coming from Hong Kong and Macau going into mainland China. They want to open up an account, they want to apply for a credit card, they want to apply for an insecure loan, right? But in China, we don't have any information about this particular person, right? So if they can actually carry the data from Hong Kong, and then the receiving end in China have a way to actually validate the data, I think that would be a perfect solution for GBA. And we have initially launched that solution between Hong Kong and between Macau and Guangdong in Zhuhai, right, as a pilot. So Macau citizens can actually go to Zhuhai and opening up an account, right, using the data that they download from their own bank account in Macau and transmit to, for example, the banks in Zhuhai to apply for a credit card. We cut down substantially the processing time from a few days down to a few minutes, right? And this is the kind of experience that we anticipate for GBA's citizens, right, to travel across the regions. And hopefully down the road, Hong Kong can also join hands. And because just like the Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau Bridge, right, we need 3 anchors. So we need definitely need Hong Kong to come and join to build the infrastructure as quickly as possible.
Well, a follow-up question. I'm sure you use a lot of data. Do you use the trading platform, data exchange or data trading platforms within China a lot, or do you build your own?
Right now, we only focus on the China domestic market. Right, so the kind of data that we look at are mostly around the domestically available data, for example, like energy consumption, your tax data, and inventory data, etc. So, but down the road, we are also looking into collaborations with, for example, the virtual banks in Hong Kong, and see whether we can, leveraging the data on both sides and be able to serve a lot of the micro enterprises that are doing all these export business between China and Hong Kong.
Thank you. Horace, healthcare industry use a lot of personal health information. So how do we balance the privacy protection and also the development of your data usage for the industry? Not particularly just healthcare, in fact, for other industry as well.
Yeah, sure. It's a really challenging question when we're talking about data privacy and big data development. How could we balance or try to strive for the best for both sides? And first of all, I would start from the internal organization. We could define data governance policies to make sure which data we need to store and which parties can extract the data and what is the purpose of the use cases and the scope of the data. And it will help the organizations to avoid any data over-accessing. And secondly, we can consider from the customer perspective, like the organizations can be transparent and keep communicating with to the patient or the customer. That's how their data being used and what's the purpose, and ask their customer consent for the specific purpose regularly. And firstly, we can explore the privacy computing technologies, just like Henry mentioned, for the federated learning and desensitized data, so that we could share the useful insights across the organizations without physically or logically share the information or the personal sensitive data. So those are the, I think those are the methods to address the issues.
Great. I think that we have talked about each of different industries in terms of how data is helping them and also shaping their industry, and equally with certain constraints and challenges. And so if we want to give a summary statement from each of you representing your industry, or some takeaway messages, what would you recommend to the group of audience here? So shall we start with Samuel?
From a very macro level, from a Professor Sun level, right? I stand with if I am in the position with him, I will see, in Hong Kong is a very data-driven place, right? And we have a well-recognized legal system. And we've positioned ourselves as a financing app and arbitration center. So what is the fundamentals? Fundamentals is about the data connectivities. Without any, data, you have no say. So the first thing is, I think this is a major building blocks for the government as well, for our industry as well. So we have to collaborate with other countries to talk about the standardization of the data transfer and compliance and control. I can say, right, next 3 or 5 years is a very good timing to talk, because everyone is looking for the after post-pandemic growth. Everyone is looking for the economics recovery or growth. So you have candy for all the countries to talk about these topics. So that is my recommendations. For my company as well, for a very micro perspective, because we are the credit bureau, so we will talk to all the regulators to how to say, to make some of, I can say HCF, highest common factor, or to ally some of some of the regulators to share their experience, to make the common definitions. I can talk to all of you. Even I talk to other countries of some authorities. 90% cases they are similar. So we will try to get the common arena, and then we talk together and see whether we can try first, and maybe a pilot run first, and then maybe afterwards you can amend the law. So that is my positions.
Thank you, Samuel. Selena?
Yeah, my comment would be very similar to Samuel's. I think we cannot do it alone, especially from the Federation's perspective. We need to do it through a community. So let's work together, collaborate together, not only from our industry, with, across the different industries, as well as we have to talk to the regulator, government, even geographically, interconnect with the GBA data. So I think we have to work together.
Great. How about Henry?
Right. Data is essentially the most important raw materials for digital economy. Right? So, but as I mentioned earlier, there are challenges to actually mine the value of data. Right, so the two particular challenges are you have to make data more accessible, right? And also you need to be able to collaborate around data. So the two issues can be addressed by technologies. Continuous digital transformation of every industry. I think everybody needs to be persistent about it. And also around the development of privacy-preserving computing technologies like federated learning, blockchain-related technologies. I think this is something that I think we need to actually make more investment around as well. So that's my 3 cents of thought.
Thank you, Henry. Horace.
Yeah, as a healthcare group, we are excited to foresee the high potentials of the big data development, and we are happy to see that the data collaboration amongst different parties in the ecosystem. And also, while we value and protect the customer data privacy, so this is overall is our strategy to move forward.
Thank you. Well, we talk about data is the new oil for digital economy. So first of all, we need to mine the data. So the data are around, but we need to mine them to make them available. The second thing, we need to process them. There's a data cleansing. A lot of data processing needs to be done, data modeling. Number 3, data needs to be moved. So there is a pipeline that people are built for oil industries. But here we have data movement cross boundaries, cross borders. So for that, there is a lot of data standards, compliance, and regulations that we all need to work together. And finally, how do we add value to data? AI, healthcare industry, financial industry, data bureau industry, and so many. And the application can be the sky being the limit. So again, I think we are back to the G20 messages. We are only at the beginning of seeing the data being searched in applications. And we all need to work together with many more forums like this one, that people are sitting together in a room. We agree to certain standards. We start with something that is agreeable and continue to work out the differences. In fact, at the Institute of Big Data Governance, we look at all the big regulations like GDPR in EU, like the DSL and PIPL in mainland China, like the PDPO in Hong Kong and others. 80% of them are actually, the requirements are similar or exactly the same. Only 20% are different in terms of how they are being seen, in terms of the way they want to treat the data. So the big common part of it can be a starting point for people to flow data. And with the good news of mainland and Hong Kong government achieving data flow memorandum of understanding, we see a beginning of GBA being the first piloted area for the flow of data. We would like to see how that can be expanded to the rest of China, to the rest of Asia, and to the rest of the world. Once again, I thank our panelists for giving a very insightful sharing for different industries, and all of you for being so patient and waiting for us to finish before lunch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would our panelists please step forward to take a group photo?